One of the most common questions I get asked in clinics or by email has to do with footwear. And specifically, it has to do with how can you get away backpacking with a heavy pack with so-called minimalist footwear. My short answer is you can't backpack with a heavy pack and minimalist footwear. And I'll give you some insight into my thoughts on what I think are the best backpacking shoes and where I think minimalist footwear fits into this overall thing. First, we have to answer the question, what is minimalist footwear, so that we can all get on the same page about definitions. You've got barefoot, and then you've got stiff leather hiking boots, and then you've got everything in between. Minimalist footwear is obviously towards the barefoot end of the spectrum. And so when I think of minimalist footwear, I think of a shoe that allows your feet to behave as if they were barefoot, but just providing some outer layer of protection. Vibram 5 fingers are the classic example of minimalist footwear, but taking it a step up from there and looking at conventional shoes, I think of something like the Merrell Trail Glove. So two things about this particular shoe that I think are important characteristics of a minimalist shoe. One is that it has no structure. You can actually roll this shoe up into a little ball. The second is that the stack height is very low. That stack height is defined as the thickness of the outsole and the midsole, and then whatever insole you have in the shoe as well. So it's the distance from your barefoot, bottom of your barefoot, down to the ground. That's the stack height. So those are the characteristics of minimalist footwear. No structure and a very low stack height. Now, I think some people get confused about what constitutes lightweight footwear versus minimalist footwear, and I see them as two totally different things. Yes, I think minimalist footwear can be light, but just because it's light doesn't mean it's minimalist. As a case in point, let's take a look at a pair of Hokas. These are very light shoes, size 9, weigh 10 ounces. These have some stiffness to them. You cannot roll them up into a ball. They're one step removed from minimalist footwear like the Vibram 5 fingers or the Merrell Trail Glove. Second thing is these have an enormous stack height, inch or more in a shoe like this. Another common shoe is the Lone Peak 3.0, a fantastic backpacking shoe, but again, a fairly substantial stack height. Now, what these two shoes share in common is that they are both minimal drop shoes. In the case of the Lone Peaks, they are zero drop, which means the distance from the bottom of the heel to the ground surface and the distance from the ball of the foot to the ground surface are identical. It's called a zero drop shoe because there's no differential, right? The shoe doesn't sit up like this, like a conventional running shoe. Same with the Hokas, again, a minimal drop shoe. The idea of a minimal drop shoe or a zero drop shoe is that it allows the biomechanics of your body to be a little bit more natural. By not lifting your feet up, you're engaging more muscles in your lower legs, specifically your foot muscles, your ankle muscles, and your calf muscles. So again, let's revisit. Minimalist and zero drop, not one and the same. A minimalist shoe, by definition, probably should be a zero drop shoe, but not all zero drop shoes are necessarily minimalist in nature. They may have some stiffness to them, and they may have some stack height to them for cushioning, like the Lone Peaks. Okay, so with those definitions aside, let's talk about the applicability of minimalist footwear versus lightweight footwear like what I've been showing you. So minimalist footwear, minimal stack height, no structure. Do these have a place in backpacking? Carrying a heavy pack? My vote is no. As you add pack weight, you're placing demands on your body for different biomechanics. You're placing demands on your body that aren't there when you're not carrying a pack. And in backpacking, you're by definition on rougher terrain, all right? The trails are not smooth. There's always some roughness to the trails, rocks in the trails. There's always sticks and logs and things to jump over, and the occasional stretch of bushwhacking and uneven surfaces and all this kind of thing. Now, once you add pack weight, you disrupt your body's balance, your biomechanics. You require some structure to your footwear so that you don't overtax your feet. Does that mean that you can't use minimalist footwear for backpacking? No. It does mean that your feet need to be in pristine condition. That means you have to be well trained in using minimalist footwear in order to backpack effectively with a pack that's reasonably heavy. It's really dictated by your biomechanics, your style. It's really dictated by the fitness level of your body. Now let's take the other extreme. Is a shoe like the Hoka's with this gigantic stack height, is this shoe appropriate for most backpacking? Again, I'm gonna say no. The stack height on these is so high that you just lose some side-to-side stability when you're wearing these with a heavy pack. You're off balance a lot, you're side hilling. You just can't have the control between the foot and the ground surface required to be stable enough in these. These shoes would probably be okay for most trail hiking on easy, not so steep trails. Once you get into steepness, side hilling, and uneven terrain, these shoes are gonna wobble around quite a bit because of their really high stack height. Now, for backpacking, this is an okay shoe. It's a lower stack height than the Hoka's, still providing a lot of cushioning. Great grip, great tread, wide platform, and you just don't wobble around in a shoe like this. So this, to me, is much more appropriate as a backpacking shoe while carrying a pack. It strikes a good balance between lightweight, enough stack height to provide some cushioning, and enough structure to resist fatigue when you're hiking for long, and enough structure to resist fatiguing of your feet over the course of a long mileage day. Okay, now I've mentioned and shown you 3 shoes that I use. Merrell Trail Glove, Hoka 1-1, the Lone Peaks. Lone Peaks are my primary backpacking shoe. When do I use the other 2? I use the Merrell Trail Gloves for training and only training. Minimalist Footwear has one purpose in my training. I wear them when I want to work my feet. In other words, I may be wearing a minimalist shoe once or twice a week when I want to train my foot muscles and cause fatigue in my feet. That's it. In contrast, I'm going to wear a high stack shoe in training for 2 reasons. 1, recovery, especially after days when I've been wearing a minimalist shoe. And 2, I want to use this type of shoe when I'm doing a long distance day and I want to fatigue the rest of my body and I'm not as worried about my feet. So these are days when I want to fatigue my calves or my legs. But when it comes time to hit the trail and go backpacking, I'm using a shoe like this. Good tread, enough structure to resist fatigue, enough stack to provide some cushioning when I'm carrying a pack, but not so much that it causes me to go off balance when I'm on uneven terrain. Okay, I hope this video was valuable and that it provided you with some insight into what is and what is not minimalist footwear and how I incorporate minimal shoes, shoes with a high stack, and backpacking shoes into my training and my backpacking. Thanks for watching.